All right, so 3 interesting stocks. These interesting stocks are interesting for a variety of reasons. They could be that they might be an interesting price, the stock might have crashed, there could be good news, bad news around the stock, it could be a horrible stock. Just don't look into these stocks and go out and buy them. Golden rule, if you see a random YouTube video of stocks in them, you shouldn't just go out and buy those stocks. You should at least do the research first, and then you can make your decision. Okay, let's jump into this. So the first stock that we're going to look at is an interesting stock that crashed over 60%, well over 60% recently. Small market cap, it's in mobile gaming. And the mobile gaming space is interesting. Why is it interesting? Well, the total game revenue in billions on a global scale for PC and console has been pretty flat. I mean, they've been steadily increasing, but in the total scheme of gaming, mobile has been crushing it. They were not that big of a player in 2012 and 13, but in 2015, that's when they just exceeded the revenue of either console or PC. But an even more interesting thing happened last year in 2018, where they made up for over 50% of the revenue. So they accounted for PC and console revenue combined, and a little bit more. 51% was their how much revenue they had in 2018 of all of gaming. And so that's expected to increase in 2019 and 20. These are the future predictions for this space. So mobile gaming might be an interesting thing to invest in, unless it's hyped up already, but let's find out. So the first stock we're looking at is Glu Mobile, ticker symbol GLUU. The reason why it's been dropping, Disney's Sorcerer's Arena was delayed from August 2019 to Q1 of 2020. So that in turn made it so that their guidance for the full year of 2019 was lowered, and that made the stock recently just crash. So is there an opportunity here? In addition, 2020 seems to be bright. There's 2 other original games that are expected. So what I see here is that if you're going to make a play here, you'd want to, let's say if you want to make a few calls here, you'd want to make sure that the calls got a glimpse of the bottom line impact of the Disney game. So maybe Disney game will impact the bottom line in Q3, Q4. I mean, the stock might increase a lot in Q1 or 2 just based on the hype alone. But to be safe, I would go for a call that would be in maybe January of 2021 and either just cash in on the hype or when the revenue comes in. And you have to believe that the Disney stock is going to be somewhat of a hit and not a complete disaster. There's demos that you can view of this game, so you can get a glimpse of if this game looks good. It might be in beta or something, I'm not exactly sure, but if you're interested in this stock, definitely check out what that game looks like and if you want to back that game, essentially. So let's look at the stock here in terms of what these immediate bottoms might look like. So if we look at the price right now, it's at this key range right here where it could bounce at this $4 range here. It could go down all the way to around $3.50, I would say. And if it went below $3.50, it could all go down to $2. If we look at history here, an interesting thing to look at is when it was really low down here, it went up, and then when it crashed back down eventually, it never went down below this line here, which could be analogous to where we are over here, hitting this line of support. Now, if we look at when it spiked again here, it did make a full retracement back to the low here. So that would be equal to us falling down to the $2 level. And also one thing to note is when it crashed, historically it spikes again. And this is where it spiked again after a year. And this is kind of like what we're kind of thinking of. If the Disney game kicks off in a good way, we might get another second burst here. This is clearly a falling knife, so if you want to just go for that long term of 2021 play, or if you're trying to buy when it goes a little lower, because it definitely looks like it's going to go lower. I mean, we can't really know where it's going to fall down to, but target these ranges here, either this range, and if you think it's going to go below that range, or if it does go below that range, take advantage once it hits at this lower level of 250 or almost a $2 level. Okay, next stock is Disney. So Disney is a huge market cap. It's over 200 billion. An interesting thing with Disney right now is that it's hitting a key support level here. So this low here is an interesting level. It's about 30 cents lower than it closed on Friday. And I would be a buyer if it keeps going down. Now, one thing though is that this could be a bottom here, and if it was a bottom, well, it's hard to even predict bottoms in general. And it's even harder right now. It's almost impossible, I'd say, to predict bottoms in general. But it's even harder right now based on the current climate of, well, the trade war and Trump tweeting and the market's crashing right now. And what happened on Friday can roll over to this week because of the after hours tweet based on the new tariffs of the 5% increase. Main point, we might see more pain coming in this following week, but if not, this could be a nice support here, right here, if we don't break through this. But again, if it breaks through this, I'd be happy. We should all be happy to get an opportunity to buy a Disney stock at a discount. Okay, let's look at the interesting things that are happening in Disney's near future. First of all, today they announced that 25 stores are going to be open in Targets starting October 4th. And so that might give the stock a lift this coming week. So again, this could be a sign of a bottom, but we'll have to find out, especially the greater market might just pull things down. But that's an exciting thing that they announced that. And Target's been an interesting stock lately. It's been on fire. So the second thing is that Disney Plus's launch is set for November 12th. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Disney Plus and how Disney is able to compete with Netflix and see how that plays out. If Netflix is going to get crushed from Disney or if Disney gets crushed, this is a really huge growth potential for Disney to take advantage of this, especially since they have a lot of content already. Content is king, so they have a huge opportunity. Netflix also does a really good job in their content and really paying a lot for content. So we'll see how this pans out. Maybe the space is big enough for the two of them, and we'll see if what happens when Apple gets thrown into the mix too. Okay, let's look at the third stock, and that's Slack. So Slack is interesting for a variety of reasons. One is that it's at $30 right now. Is that a good deal? It dropped from over $38 to $30 and briefly under $30. Well, there's a couple problems with Slack stock that you have to know about and you have to be able to get past to want to invest in them. First of all, there's no real clear path to profitability in the near future. They've stated this, and it seems to be a problem. Now, if we're fine with investing in a company that doesn't see profitability in the near future, the next problem is that competition is starting to heat up with Microsoft Teams and Facebook Workplace. Mainly Microsoft Teams, let's say, especially since Microsoft Teams recently has outperformed Slack in key metric of active users in a recent month that happened. And so that's a little scary. You have to believe that Slack is going to beat Microsoft and Facebook and all the other competition that's out there. I mean, I love Slack, and the companies that I've been with, they've all been either transitioning to Slack or they use Slack. And currently, I hardly send out any emails. It's just all through Slack. And there's a lot of advantages for the company to run that way and not be email heavy. So I definitely believe in Slack, but the question is, Microsoft has a good product in Microsoft Teams, and will that be able to beat Slack? So you need to first be fine with the company not being profitable currently, but hoping that it will be one day, obviously, and then the fact that Microsoft Teams, you have to be able to believe that Slack will beat them. And right now, it's not looking great for that. But I do think that this space has a huge potential, and Slack in general is not super expensive for a cloud stock. I mean, it's ridiculously, all cloud stocks are way overvalued potentially. Could be a huge bubble for all these stocks, but for good reason, because they have so much potential. Well, I hope you enjoyed these 3 interesting stocks today. Remember, I'm not a professional financial advisor. These videos are for your entertainment purposes only. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.